Imagine a world where distant civilizations, each with their own languages, traditions, and innovations, are connected by a vast network of trade routes stretching thousands of kilometers. This was the Silk Road, not a single path, but a web of overland and maritime routes that spanned continents, linking the East and West in ways that shaped human history for over 1,000 years. It was more than just a marketplace for silk, spices, and precious goods. The Silk Road was a conduit for ideas, religions, technologies, and art, fostering exchanges that influenced empires and shaped entire cultures. From the bustling streets of Chang'an in China to the grand markets of Rome, and from the oases of Central Asia to the ports of the Arabian Peninsula, the Silk Road was the thread that wove together the fabric of an interconnected world. In this episode, we'll delve into the fascinating story of the Silk Road, how it began, the empires and peoples it connected, and the profound cultural impact it had on the civilizations that flourished along its routes. Join us as we journey through the heart of this historic network and uncover the stories of those who traveled it, traded on it, and transformed history through its pathways. The Silk Road was far more than a mere pathway for traders. It was the lifeblood of commerce, culture, and diplomacy that connected the ancient world. Stretching over 6,400 kilometers, this intricate web of routes linked the bustling city of Chang'an, modern-day Xi'an in China, to distant lands across Central Asia, the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. For over a millennium, from the 2nd century BCE to the mid-15th century, it served as a bridge between civilizations, fostering exchanges that shaped human history. Although its name suggests a singular road, the Silk Road was a vast network with multiple branches extending across deserts, mountains, and seas. The term itself was only coined in the 19th century by Ferdinand von Richthofen, a German geographer who used the phrase Seidenstraße, Silk Road, to describe the trade routes primarily known for carrying silk, the luxury fabric that captivated the ancient world. However, silk was just one of countless goods transported along these paths, and modern historians often prefer the term silk routes to better reflect the complexity of this interconnected system. The origins of the Silk Road date back to the Han Dynasty, which ruled China for over 400 years. Around 114 BCE, Emperor Wu of Han sent an envoy, Zhang Qiang, to establish alliances and open trade with Central Asian peoples. This mission marked the beginning of a trade network that would evolve into the Silk Road. Zhang Qian's reports of distant lands sparked Chinese interest in expanding their trade and diplomatic reach. To protect these vital connections, the Great Wall was extended to shield caravans from raiders, ensuring the safety of merchants carrying precious cargo. Silk, the fabric after which the route was named, was one of China's most prized exports. Its lustrous beauty and rarity made it a status symbol in ancient Rome, Egypt, and Greece. By the 1st century CE, Chinese silk was so desirable in the Roman Empire that laws were passed to curb its consumption, as senators feared it was draining Rome's treasury. Yet silk was far from the only treasure exchanged. The East offered tea, spices, ceramics, and perfumes, while the West contributed gold, glassware, wine, and horses. The Silk Road wasn't just a highway for goods, it was a conveyor of ideas and innovations. Paper, invented in China, traveled westward, revolutionizing communication and record-keeping. Gunpowder, another Chinese invention, eventually reached Europe and transformed warfare. Religions also flowed along these routes. Buddhism spread from India to China and beyond, while Zoroastrianism and Islam left their marks on Central Asia and the Far East. The people of the Silk Road were as diverse as its roots. Merchants, nomads, monks, and adventurers came from every corner of the known world. They traveled in caravans, navigating deserts like the Taklamakan, where shifting sands swallowed paths, and crossing treacherous mountain passes in the Pamirs, sometimes called the roof of the world. Along the way, caravanserais, inns offering shelter, food and security, became hubs of cultural exchange. Here, travelers shared stories, knowledge and traditions, creating a melting pot of ideas and innovations. The influence of the Silk Road extended far beyond trade. Empires such as Persia, India and China flourished thanks to the wealth generated by these networks. The exchange of knowledge and technology shaped art, science and politics. For example, the introduction of silk to the Roman Empire inspired new textile industries, while Chinese papermaking techniques revolutionized literacy and administration in the Islamic world. The domestication of pack animals in prehistoric times was a pivotal moment in human history, enabling early humans to transport large loads from one site to another. This fundamental shift laid the groundwork for the development of trade. The domestication of horses and donkeys around 6,000 years ago and camels 6,500 years ago revolutionized the movement of goods across vast regions of Asia, the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. The sprawling grasslands that stretched across Eurasia, serving as natural corridors between agricultural zones and deserts, provided ideal conditions for trade caravans. These open spaces allowed merchants to traverse great distances without encroaching on agricultural lands, reducing the risk of conflicts with local farming communities. Central Eurasia, with its storied history of horse rearing and equestrian culture, became a critical hub for this early exchange. Long before the Silk Road formally emerged, trade routes crisscrossed these vast grasslands. Archaeological sites, such as the Beryl Burial Ground in Kazakhstan, have unearthed remarkable artifacts, human and horse skeletons interred side by side alongside an array of exquisite jewelry. These findings suggest that nomadic tribes, such as the Arimaspians, were not only skilled horse breeders for travel, warfare and trade, but also creators of refined art. Their intricate designs spread far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on the Silk Road's artistic legacy. As early as the 2nd millennium BCE, nephrite jade from mines in the Yarkand Hotan region made its way into China. Nearby, in the Badakhshan region, deposits of lapis lazuli and spinel, precious stones highly sought after for their deep colors, were mined. Though these mines were separated by the formidable Pamir Mountains, trade persisted. By 1070 BCE, traces of what appears to be Chinese silk were discovered in ancient Egypt, underscoring the extraordinary reach of early commerce. Oases in Central Asia played a crucial role in facilitating Silk Road trade. These natural waypoints provided essential resources and resting places for merchants navigating the harsh terrain. Although silk decomposes quickly and definitive proof of its origins is elusive, many scholars believe these early silk finds in Egypt were produced in China, given its long-standing dominance in silk production. The first organized trade routes date back some 5,500 years. Lapis lazuli, mined in Afghanistan, found its way to ancient Egypt, where it adorned the death mask of Tutankhamun, crafted over 3,300 years ago. Egyptian sites also yielded evidence of Chinese silk from around the same period. Such discoveries highlight the early connections between trade routes, linking distant lands and laying the foundation for the expansive Silk Road network. Trade is even documented in the Bible. The story of Joseph and his brothers mentions merchants traveling between Canaan and Egypt, while other passages refer to trade in Lebanese timber with Hiram, king of Tyre, and in spices and precious stones with Tarshish and Sheba. During the time of the Greek historian Herodotus, the Persian Royal Road was established. Stretching 2,857 kilometers between the cities of Susa, Shushan, and Izmir in modern-day Turkey, it was a marvel of ancient infrastructure. Along its length, rest stations were built to serve merchants, allowing them to exchange horses and refresh before continuing their journeys. For royal messengers, this system reduced travel time to just 9 days, an astonishing pace compared to the 3 months it typically took merchants to traverse the same distance. Interactions between central China and its western frontiers also influenced artistic and cultural exchanges. Nomads brought gold from Central Asia, and Chinese jade artisans began incorporating designs inspired by the steppes. They adopted the animal style of Scythian art, characterized by dynamic depictions of animals in combat. This style found expression in gold and bronze belt plaques, with variations crafted in jade and steatite. One extraordinary discovery from a 6th century BCE burial site near Stuttgart, Germany, included both Greek bronze artifacts and Chinese silk, highlighting the interconnectedness of distant cultures. Similar artistic motifs, including depictions of wrestlers and animal forms, were uncovered in Scythian burial mounds across the Black Sea region, extending to sites in Mongolia and Shaanxi, China, from the Warring States period. The Silk Road began to take shape under the Han Dynasty in China, emerging through explorations and conquests in Central Asia. Around 130 BCE, the Han established a trade route that connected the Tarim Basin, the Hexi Corridor, and beyond, opening pathways that would eventually link China to the Mediterranean. This effort was spurred by the diplomatic missions of the imperial envoy Zhang Qian, who was initially dispatched to forge alliances with the Yuezhi against the Xiongnu nomads. Zhang Qian's journey was groundbreaking. He directly visited the kingdom of Dayuan in the Ferghana Valley, the Yuezhi in Transoxiana, the Greco-Bactrian state of Daxia, and Kangju. His reports detailed other regions he hadn't personally visited, such as Parthia, Mesopotamia, and India. These accounts laid the groundwork for the Silk Road by highlighting the economic and strategic benefits of expanding Chinese influence westward. Following victories in the War of the Heavenly Horses and the Han-Xiongnu Wars, Chinese forces secured their presence in Central Asia, solidifying the Silk Road as a central artery of international trade. Emperor Wu of Han took a keen interest in forging connections with advanced urban cultures like Ferghana, Bactria, and the Parthian Empire. These regions, known for their rare goods and stable settlements, intrigued the emperor, particularly because their military strength seemed weaker than that of the Han. A critical component of the Han's westward expansion was their interest in the powerful heavenly horses of Ferghana. These tall and sturdy animals were vital in combating nomadic forces. After the Han defeated the Da Yuezhi in the War of the Heavenly Horses, China began sending numerous envoys to Central Asia, sometimes as many as 10 per year, establishing connections that extended as far as the Seleucid territories in Syria. These diplomatic and trade efforts set the stage for the vast Silk Road network, which eventually reached the Roman Empire. The Silk Road became a conduit for more than trade. Cultural and technological exchanges flourished, influencing both Eastern and Western civilizations. For instance, the Chinese crossbow may have found its way to the Roman world, and Roman technologies, like certain military innovations, might have been introduced to China. Encounters between Han soldiers and Roman legionaries, often prisoners of war or mercenaries employed by nomadic tribes, are recorded in historical accounts, further emphasizing the interconnectedness of ancient societies. Over the centuries, the Silk Road witnessed monumental historical shifts. It served as a pathway for the spread of Buddhism, scientific knowledge, and artistic traditions. However, it was also a vector for calamities, such as the Black Death, which ravaged Europe and Asia in the 14th century. The decentralized nature of the network and the sparse security along its routes made it vulnerable to bandits and raiders. Few individuals traversed the entirety of the Silk Road. Instead, goods and ideas were handed off between intermediaries stationed at key points along the way. By 1453, the rise of the Ottoman Empire and its control over key land routes spurred European powers to seek alternative paths to Asia. This marked the beginning of the age of exploration, the rise of European colonialism, and the early stages of globalization. The Silk Road's importance waned as maritime routes gained prominence, yet its legacy as a symbol of connectivity and exchange remains unparalleled. In the modern era, the term New Silk Road has been revived to describe large-scale infrastructure projects aimed at linking Asia, Europe, and Africa. Among the most ambitious of these initiatives is China's Belt and Road Initiative, which seeks to recreate the Silk Road's historic role as a bridge between continents. In 2014, UNESCO recognized parts of the ancient Silk Road as a World Heritage Site, highlighting the Chang'an-Tianshan corridor's significance. While the name Silk Road has become synonymous with this historic trade network, the southern routes, originally used for jade trade over 5,000 years ago, predate the silk trade itself. These paths, linking Hotan in Xinjiang to the east, were later incorporated into the broader Silk Road network. Some argue that Jade Road might have been a more fitting term in its early history, but the term Silk Road endures as a testament to the network's far-reaching and transformative impact. The maritime Silk Road, often referred to as the sea route counterpart to the historic Silk Road, was an expansive network of trade routes that connected Southeast Asia, East Asia, the Indian subcontinent, the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa, and Europe. This vital artery of global commerce flourished from the 2nd century BCE to the 15th century CE, facilitating the exchange of goods, cultures, and ideas over vast distances. Unlike the overland Silk Road, which relied on camel caravans and regional trade relays, the maritime Silk Road enabled merchants to transport goods across the oceans in a single journey. This was made possible by large and innovative seafaring vessels. The early pioneers of these routes were Austronesian sailors from Southeast Asia, who used advanced sewn plank and lashed lug boats designed for long-distance trade. Persian and Arab merchants later utilized dhows, their iconic ships, to navigate the Arabian Sea, while Tamil traders from South Asia contributed their maritime expertise to these thriving networks. By the 10th century CE, China entered the scene with its own trade ships known as junks. These impressive vessels, larger and more durable, became central to the trade routes from the 10th to the 15th centuries. The main maritime route stretched across the Indian Ocean, originating at the northern tip of Sumatra or through the Sunda Strait. It reached key destinations like Sri Lanka, South India, Bangladesh, and the Maldives before branching into routes that crossed the Arabian Sea to the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. Secondary routes hugged coastlines linking the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the shores of East Africa, with destinations including Zanzibar, the Comoros Archipelago, Madagascar, and the Seychelles. Though the term Maritime Silk Road is modern, It captures the essence of this vast network's function and its resemblance to the overland Silk Road. Like its land-based counterpart, the maritime Silk Road was a channel for exchanging a wide array of goods, but it differed significantly in key aspects. Unlike the fragmented trade of the overland route, where goods often passed through multiple intermediaries, sea merchants could traverse the entirety of the maritime network, carrying goods directly to their destinations. Ships on the maritime Silk Road could transport far greater quantities of goods than camel caravans, amplifying its economic impact. The nature of the goods also differed. While camels often carried silk, spices, and other luxury items, ships transported larger cargoes such as timber, grains, metals, and ceramics, alongside luxury commodities like silk and ivory. Despite its economic advantages, the maritime Silk Road posed significant challenges. Traders faced unpredictable weather, including monsoons and storms, and the constant threat of piracy. However, they were less impacted by political instability, as ships could avoid conflict zones, offering a degree of flexibility unavailable to overland merchants. The maritime Silk Road wasn't just about trade, it was a powerful medium for cultural exchange. Ideas, religions, technologies, and art flowed freely along these routes. The spread of Buddhism, for instance, was significantly influenced by maritime trade. Merchants, pilgrims, and scholars carried religious texts, statues, and teachings to new regions, leaving a lasting cultural imprint across Asia and beyond. While its historical significance is immense, the name Maritime Silk Road is a modern construct, reflecting its association with the Silk Road's legacy. The routes themselves had no specific name in their time, but were central to a global network of exchange that shaped the world in profound ways. Today, the concept of a new maritime Silk Road continues to inspire initiatives that aim to revive and expand the connectivity of these ancient trade networks. The story of the Silk Road is a remarkable reminder of how trade and cultural exchange have shaped our shared history. Writing this episode took a lot of research and effort to bring you the most captivating details, and we hope you found it as fascinating as we did. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next video.